Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the Spiritual Inspired Show. I am your host, Claudiu Murgan. For all the episodes, please visit auraverse.network, spiritualinspired.ca, or our YouTube channel. My guest today is Kristen Hustead. Kristen, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for asking me. I'm excited to be here.
What I would like to ask you, what inspired you to pursue a holistic healing path, and how did your early life experiences shape that journey?
Yeah, so I guess I've always been athletic and always have been very spiritual as well. So it's kind of neat to be where I'm at right now. But just being younger, when I graduated college, I went in to become a director at the YMCA in California, and I fell in love with the whole fitness industry. I'm always someone who's trying to evolve and learn more. So after many years of being in the fitness industry as a director, then I started to become a little more of a body worker. And that's when I got into fascial stretch therapy, which led me to Reiki, which led me to my grief and trauma counseling certification, Pilates. I'm a personal trainer, meditation teacher. Like all these together have brought me to the place where I have my own business now. And I help people to heal intuitively as well through reading their body and reading any energy in their body. So my career has really gone from just simply an athletic director to now really working on the body, mind, and spirit together and helping people heal from all. I kind of bring you all together as one instead of leaving one or the other ones out. So that's kind of in a nutshell.
So, in other words, everything grew organically around you to create this business. You didn't have a very traumatic or a haha moment in your life that told you this is your purpose, you have to heal
Oh
people.
yeah. Yeah, I had that too. I did have a traumatic childhood. That's what I wrote in. Not, I wouldn't say traumatic. It was more of a difficult childhood with alcoholic parents and some other things that went on. And so when I, kind of came to it was about 2000. I'm looking at my book right now, so excuse me. When I started to really heal deeply was about 2016, 17, 18. I was fired from a job, and it kind of brought me to my knees and unleashed all this trauma in me that I had suppressed as a little girl. And so that's what the journey of my book was, how I walked through that and how I was getting divine callings, just these knowings that I was going to be helping people on a larger scale. And so that trauma was actually catapulted me into what I'm doing now, and hearing a lot of, you will be laying hands on people, you will be, helping people, guide people into healing. And at first it was really scary because I thought, well, how weird, like who am I to put my hands on people? And as I just trusted, I have come to a place where I have seen miracles after miracles, which led me to write my book about walking out of who you think you are and walking into truly who you are. So it was a beautiful story, but yeah, it came with a lot of trauma and a lot of heartache and pain.
Yes, and these two, as you mentioned, there are two different things, who we think we are and who we really are. And
Mhm.
recently I was told that I have to walk this path as well. And it's kind of scary for not necessarily me, but for the family, because you really have to put yourself out there and be sure that your message is different, is authentic, and can pull the right people in who will
Yeah.
benefit from what you are, from your message, in fact.
Yeah, yeah, you hit it spot on because I would say this journey was a lot about letting go of my fear of what people thought. And am I on the right? Well, I always knew I was on the right path, but what would it look like to other people? And the really neat thing is that every time I have found that I let go of what people thought, I came into more of my knowing of who I am, and my message became more stronger, and my practice became more stronger because I stood in my knowing. And which then it was almost like I just saw people awaken. Either they were awakening spiritually after our sessions, or they were completely healing, like miraculously healing. And so I thought, this isn't anything I'm doing. It's more of us all stepping into who we truly are. And when two or more are gathered together, that energy is so powerful. And so, yeah, it's super scary. I almost lost my marriage over it, probably a couple times, because he's just like, what is going on? My extended family wasn't very thrilled with me. And I get it. I get it. I get it. It's unusual what I do for a living. And yet all I can keep thinking is of all the people that have been helped and how I've been helped stepping out too. So yeah, it's been a very thrilling and very scary journey at the same time, but I wouldn't go back one bit, not one bit. So yeah.
Yes, we all have to take that plunge at one point in time and not
Yeah.
look back. And what was the moment, or how did you react when you first time heard the voices in your head telling you to do this or that? And how did you classify or verify that this message is real?
That's a great point. Okay, so it was after I was fired, and because I am such a I'm such a hard worker, I would say I love working and I love like my passion is my passion. And when I got fired, I was stripped of not only of my integrity because people were hurling terrible accusations, which they do. And I felt very misunderstood. So I was so angry, like so angry that I just said, I am not going to listen to anyone else anymore. And I'm going to sit in silence and I'm going to ask, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And I sat in silence and I still do every single day. And it came probably after about a month of just almost like a stubborn kid sitting in silence and going, I'm not going to hear from anyone else. I want to hear right from the source. And it was like this deep knowing that you are being called to something bigger and better, and you're going to be guided to help many people heal. I mean, you're going to be a guide for many people, and it was like this knowing. It wasn't a false message. It was a knowing because I did know this much. Every time I'd sit in meditation, I would put just a prayer, a protection around me saying, I only want to hear from my highest good, for my highest good, for love and healing of the world. And I surrendered myself every day. And I really do believe that prayer, that intention was what opened up so many things. So as I heard you will be laying hands on people, I was like, no way. Mm-mm, no way. And then I heard yes. And I was like, no. And then I thought, well, I can't escape this because it's not stopping. So I stepped out and did that. And as I stepped out, then I heard, now you're going to get Reiki certified. And I was like, oh gosh, no, very raised in a very, since high school, a very conservative Christian family that felt very scary. But I knew I was being guided. So I was like, okay, let's do this. And so every step I took, it was this deep knowing. And then I got the rewards. I got the rewards from seeing people and seeing the results. So it was like I was brave enough to step out. And then I felt like the universe came back and said, and here, look when you step out of your small self, look what I can do. Look what we can do, kind of just with that. So yeah, it was extremely terrifying and it still is. But I like to live on the edge, I think. I like to push boundaries. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I think it's terrifying because the social media is has changed everything so much,
Yes.
and those who don't understand us will just throw mud to the message and at us as an individual, and they don't want to experience. They talk to us or they throw these messages out based on a false pretense, and they have no experience in order to understand what's going on. But that,
Yeah.
because that even a little bit of experience will change their perception, and they will have second thoughts before making a comment that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's what I've always been a person of kindness and I've always worked from my heart and I only do things from the highest good. Like I mean, yeah, I'm sure I have my issues, but really truly my intention is always to put forth that integrity and to see the hurling accusations was devastating. Like just recently on my YouTube, a lot of hurtful things and even hurtful emails, but a lot of positive too. So I did allow it in me probably little more than I should, and I had a little breakdown moment. It was a big breakdown moment. Like I'm just trying my best. I'm trying to put something good out there, and I don't think people understand. Oh, my dog, sorry.
No, it's okay. And I think is because our ego takes that personally.
Well,
And before our, higher self comes into play, is the ego who takes the initiative, and we feel like hurt because of that comment. But if we understand the perspective that comment comes from, then we should just send some blessing and love and move on.
yes. I love that. Yes, that's exactly it. And that's what I'm really learning is just to send love back because love is like the highest vibration. It's the highest energy. And so every time I do that, it feels so good. Instead of getting, of course you have to feel your feelings, but then allow them to leave. And allow them to go through. But yeah, I know I agree with you. It's like the more you send love, the better you feel. And
Yes.
it just don't even give that stuff energy. I'm learning.
Kristen, how do you define integrative holistic therapy? I know you have a course on this subject, and what makes it distinct from conventional healthcare approaches?
Yes. So integrative holistic therapy is I put it all together because when I first started as a fitness director is what I mostly did in my career. I always thought that if someone was healthy physically and they were also healthy eating wise, that they would be a healthy person. And when I became a fascial stretch therapist and I started to work on people, I started to realize that their physical injuries and illnesses and disease, I work with a lot of people with diseases, have an emotional component to it. And the fascia tissue is what I work with. The fascia tissue holds memory. And so, as an intuitive, I started to say, hey, I'm seeing. So I get visions, I get knowings, I get smells, tastes, audible messages about what the body is telling me. And it's really fascinating because the body will tell a story of what's been shoved down in there because when your mind is so overwhelmed and it cannot process a situation, the body will take it. That's just how it's meant. It's a housing place. So the body keeps the score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And so the body keeps the score. And so the fascia tissue holds on to it. And as I release the tissue, then these emotions and memories were coming out. And so I started to say, well, hey, I can't just release your tissue and send you on your merry way when your disease that you are having, your cancer, your illness, your hip problems has an emotional component. So I started to say, okay, so now let's take a look at that emotion. Let's breathe in. I started to study like crazy, like Dr. Candace Pert's work, Dr. Bruce Lipton's, Dr. Carolyn Leaf's, and Joe Dispenza's work, all this stuff, trying to understand how do I connect this. So Dr. What's a Howard Schubner's work on unlearn your pain. Well, he said that even just acknowledging the pain will help diffuse it. And he's noticed he, in his research, was working on people with chronic back pains, and it was simply an emotion that was stuck in there. So if there isn't an actual injury or illness at the time, there's a big reason why there's probably an emotional component. So then I started to work with people like, okay, so now let's do heart coherence breathing. So let's get the body in the relaxed state, in the parasympathetic nervous system state, and bring it into coherence with the heart coherence breathing so that your body is already starting to heal. And then let's acknowledge everything that comes up. So when I'm with someone, a lot of times if they've had really severe trauma, they will not remember anything. They don't remember the trauma because it's been shoved in their body. I am intuitive enough to know that if I'm not supposed to say something, I won't. I'll let them come to a place. But if I'm feeling like, yeah, they know this, but they just need confirmation, I'll say, hey, were you abused by your father, mother, or whatever? And they'll be like, yes. And I said, okay, this is coming out of your body. So let's give it love. Let's breathe in love for ourselves, heart coherence, and let's exhale it. Let's send it up to the light, the stars. And in my grief and trauma counseling by Dr. Joanne Cacciatore, she talked about this very thing. Like we need to allow our pains and wounds to, she says to escort them out the door. But I think I'd like them further away than the door. So I get my clients to do that. So I started to see, okay, so now I'm working on the body to release the physical issues. And now we're working with the emotional pain. And we're doing this heart breath coherence work to get the body working with us too, because when we're in the theta brainwave state or the alpha brainwave state, our body goes, I know how to heal. I remember how to heal. So then I was like, okay, so now we need a little extra assistance. Maybe I'll put on some integrative, then I'll put on some frequency vibrational music, right? 432 hertz or 528. And then all of a sudden the body's like humming, right? Because you are going to match the frequency of the vibrations around you. So now they come from fight or flight, maybe being scared to be worked on. And I've got this heart coherence breathing, and I've got this music, and we are breathing in love for themselves, and the body starts to say, hey, I trust this, and it starts to release, and the bodies will shake, the people will cry. But the cool thing about being a body worker versus a counselor only is I can hug them, I can hold them, because I have that uh, license, and we work through each thing. So then I started to realize through the Reiki that there's a divine higher wisdom that we're all connected with. And so then once the person releases all that, I'd say, okay, so now set your intentions again, because that's a very powerful thing. And now I'm going to lead you in another guided meditation. So I lead them like totally out of their body. Like I have them relax, come up, look down at the body, go up a little more, look down. So you kind of get that disassociation from the body. And we go all the way up to healing waters and a meadow. And then we go all the way up to what I say is the light, the unconditional love. And I allow everyone to fill in the blanks there.